There's never a dull moment when it comes to Minnesota sports. Whether it's positive or negative.
The Yankees have swept the Twins.
Minnesota Sports Chat has you covered. Talking nothing but Minnesota sports all year long. It's time now for the soon-to-be award-winning, if only in his own mind, Minnesota Sports Chat with your host, Ross Brendel.
Well, that would be me with edition number 239 of this soon-to-be award-winning Minnesota Sports Chat, presented by my friends at Beans Coffee Company. Use the promo code SPORTSCHAT to save at checkout on the most delicious small batch coffee around, roasted right here in the great state of Minnesota. This is the Golden Gophers review and preview edition, in which we will recap a brutal 26-19 loss to Rutgers. We will also preview going 1-0 in bye-week championship season. Actually, we won't do that. I just wanted to say that because I think it's funny. Instead, we'll spend the bulk of this time with Mr. Daniel House from Gophers Guru talking about a Minnesota defeat by the hands of a Rutgers in Piscataway this past Saturday by a final score of 26-19. Daniel, I also just love saying Piscataway. Are there many better college city names than Piscataway? Can you think of any off the top of your head? Ypsilanti's good. Piscataway?
Yeah, Eastern Michigan, yeah. None of them are really crossing my mind right now because Piscataway is just at the lead.
It's just fun to say. Fun to say, not necessarily fun to lose to. So let's just get right into that. Actually, Daniel, I want to play some elongated sound from the head coach's post-game press conference. It's a little bit long. It's about 1:20, but I think the full quote and I guess the full context makes it, I think, worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and play that right now, and then you and I can react to this. This is PJ Fleck moments after losing to Rutgers this past Saturday.
Everything starts with me. I wasn't a very good head coach today. I didn't prepare him very well. I thought Rutgers did a good job coming off the bye week and creating some things that gave us some issues, which most of the time when you come off a bye week, you want to be able to do that. You got 2 weeks to prepare, and they did a really good job. And I know that they had lost 4 straight, but you give Greg Schiano and his staff, you give them 2 weeks to prepare and go get 1 victory. And I thought they did some good things, mixing some stuff up, and especially in our protection game. And you got to give them credit. That's why they're really good coaches. A lot of really good coaches over there and staff members. And but we had our opportunities. We did not play Gopher football and winning Gopher football like we have over the last however many weeks. But it's college football. It's not an excuse, nor is it acceptable. But I told them in there, I said, we are 0-1 today. Simply that, 0-1. And we did not earn the victory today. There's not deserving and not deserved. We didn't earn it. We didn't make enough plays. We didn't coach well enough, and we need to be better, and we will be better. And we got to heal up in a lot of areas. Guys are playing really hard. We play so hard. It's so fun to watch our kids really play hard. And then we've got to put a really good game plan together for a top 5 team, coming into Huntington Bank Stadium. So we got a lot of things we need to focus on this week.
So I'm going to give the head coach a little bit of credit there. I cringe every time he says the loss is on me because he so seldomly explains why it's on him. But at least I appreciate taking the brunt when you are the head coach and most of your team is between the age of 18 and 20, 21 years old. So I do give him some credit for that. I do appreciate, though, we need to be better. We need to play better. I've listened to that quote a few times, Daniel, and I'm really, I'm not even, how's that go when you're a parent? I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. Isn't that what they always say? This loss should come as no surprise to anybody who follows Gopher football. And we've talked about this before, Daniel. I don't believe the Gophers are a great football team. I said at the beginning of the year, I think everything would have to go well to go 7-5, 6-6. So I would be a hypocrite to be super upset about losing this past Saturday to Rutgers. But I think what bugs me the most, Daniel, and I'll let you react to that as well. I said this jokingly on the X machine and somebody came after me. Rutgers was barely even trying to win that football game. They were utterly incapable in the second half, and you still couldn't beat them. That is what is incredibly frustrating to me because you just lost a ton of momentum. Imagine Huntington Bank Stadium about 10 days from now if the Gophers were coming in, having won 5 in a row, and there is just a stupid, crippling loss like this every year under this regime, and I don't get it. Now, again, Daniel, with that being said, I'm trying to be calm and rational here because I didn't think this team was going to be that great wins and losses wise going into the year. However, when you win 4 in a row and you have a golden opportunity to just beat a team that had no business winning a football game, it's really freaking frustrating as a fan. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll turn my mic off and let you talk.
I just thought Rutgers was more physical from the jump.
Okay, I'm going to hop back in here really quickly. They kicked the Gophers' ass in the first half off the line of scrimmage, and that drove me crazy.
Yeah, and both sides of the ball. They weren't able to get an adequate pass rush, so Manis was able to stand back there and make the available plays. I thought they were able to attack some of the things the Gophers were doing schematically. There were those 50-50 go balls that, you're in a position to make the play. You got to make the play. Offensive line in the fourth quarter gives up 3 sacks. You're backed up. You get a sack in the end zone. The protection definitely was a major issue in this game. And
Yep.
Joe Harris-Simiak basically had a scheme set up here where he said, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to send pressure. We're going to mix up the looks. We're going to play very physical on the outside on the perimeter and challenge Minnesota's receivers to run detailed routes and win physically at the catch point. And you look at a lot of those reps, Rutgers defensive backs played really well in that game. I think it was something like 12% of their defensive plays resulted in an interception or a pass breakup, which that's an elite tier performance in that specific metric. So, I mean, the thing I noticed is I just thought Minnesota looked a little bit like they weren't quite juiced up for that game. And I'm not saying like they weren't ready to play, but I think it was more so maybe they were just a little gassed. Off the line of scrimmage, just didn't have that same pad level and strain on the D line. Offensive line, just some stuff where they just weren't able to be physical on both sides of the ball. And that's something that I think you got to hang your hat on. A coach once told me, if you're physical and play with great effort, physicality always gives you a chance to win. And I just didn't think Minnesota had that in this one.
Also, a few missed a couple opportunities at interceptions that would have put you in great field position. Actually, back-to-back, you dropped an interception and then had a chance to recover a fumble and didn't on back-to-back plays. And sometimes those are just the things that go against you when it's not your day. This is not a Darius Taylor rip, so I will preface that. But he did rush for just 28 yards, had minimal carries. And to your point, Daniel, I thought he looked like a guy that could use a bye week. All game long, I was texting friends saying, give the ball to Majors. In Majors' limited opportunities, he did look good. He did look fresh, and he did look like he was running with a bit more purpose or maybe just a healthier body. I am very surprised that a team that couldn't stop the run bottled up the Gophers all game long. You talked about it, Daniel. I thought the offensive line was just exceptionally bad for multiple reasons, in pass protection, in rushing. And it's very tough to win football games that way. And really, just the entire day, Daniel, just kind of a recipe for disaster after you go down the field, score a touchdown, and then miss an extra point. And it just kind of felt, I don't want to say pear-shaped from there. I actually never felt like the Gophers were going to lose the game until they turned the ball over in their own red zone. I figured they would just grind out an ugly victory. We would move on and all feel okay with a W. But when you allow teams to hang around, that's when you can get bit. And the Gophers certainly did.
Yeah, and I mean, you miss 15 tackles, and then you're looking at the variables that contribute to success. You got to be able to break some tackles. I mean, Minnesota only had 1 forced missed tackle the whole game, and you aren't able to tackle on the other side. You got 15 missed tackles. To me, I don't know. I still stand by that statement. I just don't feel like physically the Gophers look very fresh to me. I felt it from the jump. people around me always think I'm nuts. Like within the first 10 minutes of the game, I can tell if a team was like physically ready or not. And I literally turned to the people I was watching the game with, and I'm like, the literally, I don't see like the juice for this game. Like they need a bye week to just rest a little bit here. And I just felt like that was a huge factor, not being able to break tackles. That was the thing that stood out to me. And you mentioned it, running the football. I mean, I think they only had 10 carries in the second half. That I don't know. It just they could not capture the line of scrimmage. They popped off that 18-yard run off outside zone that was executed well, but other than that, they weren't able to generate enough movement in the run game.
So I definitely agree with you. We've both now hammered this point home here in the first 10 minutes or so of this pod. You could see the physicality. Also, Rutgers running back or running backs would fall forward for 2 yards every play. Even when you got them after a yard or two, they would fall forward. It would be a 4 or 5 yard gain. You've said it and I said it, and I agree with you. The Gophers looked like a team that needed a bye week, but are we also letting them off the hook too easily? This game was there for the taking, even not playing
absolutely.
well. And I just think, to me, this always goes back. I'm always going to support the team. I go to almost every game. It's going to happen no matter what. But these are the games, and it's not just PJ Fleck. They happened under Glenn Mason. And nothing really happened under Jim Wacker, RIP, God bless his soul. But this is the last 30 years of Gopher football. Every time, still battling the remnants of a cold. Every time you get on the precipice of maybe achieving some success or doing something people didn't expect you to do, or have a really nice season, and maybe you can say 2019 was. I think it was. I think they left some meat on the bone, but I'll give them 2019. You have a bad loss to Bowling Green. You have a bad loss to Purdue. House, they would have had all the momentum and fanfare in the world at Huntington Bank Stadium in 2 weeks if you just find a way to win that football game. And these are the types of games that routinely happen to this program that stop them from taking a step up and really being taken seriously in the landscape of college football. And I don't want to say it's frustrating because at this point, Daniel, it's just kind of expected. I didn't expect them to lose, but the moment the game was over, I went, whatever. This is just, unfortunately, this is Gopher football. So I don't know how I could even really be that upset by it. So I'm trying to talk myself through this. Clemson, we've talked about this. Clemson invented a word. For about a decade, they were Clemsoning. Every time they got close, they would have a bad loss. I'm not saying the Gophers are Clemson or on the brink of winning a national championship, but I kind of feel like they're there. There is a bad loss every year that just can't happen. And I guess my question to you is, how do you get past these losses? It is okay to lose, but I would say it's not okay to lose games like they just lost. And that's what I'm struggling with, because you can win one of these final two games. Heck, college football's stupid in a fun way. The Gophers will probably compete with Penn State. Heck, they might even beat Penn State. And I would tell you, I would rather just beat Rutgers than beat Penn State if I can have one of the two. You should beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And this is the part where now 8 years in, especially Daniel, last week I told Manny Hill I thought this was Coach Fleck's best coaching job at Minnesota. And literally you can throw the pie in my face, because the more I talk about this, whatever. The loss is expected, but it's also annoying at the same time. And now I just feel like I'm talking in circles. So do what you used to do, Daniel. Pump me back up. Get me excited. Make me feel good, Daniel House.
It's execution, though. You know, you look at a couple of plays in that game, too. You got the 3 sacks in the fourth quarter. You got the face mask penalty when it's like 3rd and 17 and you got them on the 7 backed up. I mean, that's an effort play. Like, whatever, not going to get on Ja for that. But, you know, penalty like that is just killer. And then you got a big holding penalty at one point in the game. And it's just, you know, we got to make the available plays when they're there. I mean, you got a couple opportunities, you know, you get your hands on the ball, you get a takeaway, could have changed the whole tide of the game. I just thought that it was pretty apparent that Rutgers put together a really good game plan. Kirk Shiraka, I told you last week, he was definitely in the laboratory and he had not showered for 4 days. And he was just
white coat and goggles on.
he's got his hoodie, his Rutgers hoodie, and his stocking cap on, and he's just grinding tape. And it was apparent that he had a really good plan put together. But I also think that there's something, that I feel like personally, you can't have a defensive tackle like Jalen Logan Redding playing 70 snaps in the game. You got to get some other guys in the football game. Even if it's just rotational, a few snaps here or there. You look at these snap counts. I'm starting to wonder, like, are we starting to see the signs of like some guys just getting wore down a little bit here? As the season goes on. Now I think in these last two games you got to start getting some of these younger players in here to see what you got, and also get them reps for the future. And I think that's something that, in this landscape, you got to play a lot of guys to stay fresh and competitive as the season goes on.
Yeah, I'm also just staring at the standings, Daniel, and maybe we texted about this over the weekend. I'm not sure if we did, but just an absolute missed opportunity to be sitting in the. I guess right now, what are the Gophers? They sit currently 6th in the Big Ten. Could have been sitting 5th, but now you're kind of in these murky, muddy waters with a bunch of other teams. So just a lot to be frustrated and annoyed by. So I get it, Gophers fans, but you know what? The beauty of college football is it literally is at any given Saturday. We talk about this before. We've seen it with this Gophers team this year. You just never know what you're going to see. And that does add to the excitement. So I want to spend just a little bit of time on the final two games. When the Gophers got to 6-3, Daniel, I thought at bare minimum you needed to get to 7-5. And part of that 7-5 equation was, well, assuredly you would beat Rutgers, which is probably my fault for thinking that. Well, now that you haven't, I wouldn't say you can't beat Penn State, but obviously that's a tough road. However, Wisconsin, I mean, who knows? A couple weeks from now, Wisconsin has been not great all year. They're probably going to take one on the chin here coming up shortly to Oregon. So we'll see. But I guess in your estimation, I know maybe at this point not everything really is about wins and losses, but you always want to beat your rival, beat Wisconsin. Is this team capable of winning a game or two to finish the year?
The Wisconsin game's the one, I truly think that one is fascinating because Wisconsin's been just hard to figure out this year. They're coming off a bye here. Let's see how they play out of the Oregon game. They have not been able to play the run. Their run defense has been a liability. That James Thompson injury right before the season started was killer at a position they really needed him at. Braden Locke's been all over the map, man. Like, I don't know what you're going to get week to week. I don't think their wide receivers have played well. Will Pauling was way better last year. I don't know if he's fighting through something. But I think the difference with the Badgers is the Badgers' O-line is really good. And they've only allowed 2 quarterback hits the whole year, top in the Big Ten. They're one of the most efficient offensive line units. Tawi Walker can run that ball. They got their gap schemes that they really execute super well. This is a game where Wisconsin is going to run the football. They're going to try to control the line of scrimmage. Can Minnesota hold up? And then just looking at the Penn State game, Kotelnicki, their OC, one of the most creative guys in college football. You're going to get motion, shifts, odd formations. You're going to have offensive linemen split out wide, motioning across the formation. You're going to have, the tight end playing out wildcat quarterback, Tyler Warren lining up everywhere, and a blitz-happy defense that's really exotic with Tom Allen. Those are a lot of things that Minnesota has struggled with in the past, this last game or throughout the season at times. So I guess we'll see how it goes, but these last 2 games are going to be a big challenge just stylistically how these teams match up and where their strengths and weaknesses are with Minnesota's.
A reminder, promo code SportsChat, that's SportsChat at coffeebybeans.com is going to save you some cash on some delicious coffee. Truly the best coffee you will ever put in your mouth. I believe that. I am drinking it right now for those of you watching on the YouTube machine in my nice blue hydro flask. Locally roasted small batch in Mankato, Minnesota, made by sports fans. They cheer for the same teams that we do. Please support them and thank them for supporting Minnesota Sports Chat. Super easy to do. Just check out the website, coffeebybeans.com. That's coffeebybeans.com. If you see something that intrigues you, use that promo code SportsChat to save at checkout. Also, all orders of $35 or more ship for free at coffeebybeans.com. Daniel, looking ahead just to college football this upcoming weekend, is there anything that intrigues you? Because as I scan the schedule, and I thought this late Saturday night when I was scanning the schedule, Tennessee, Georgia could be a ton of fun. Other games will pop up and turn into fun. But right now, just glancing at the schedule, not a ton sticks out to me as the game that you need to watch aside from Tennessee and Georgia.
Well, I can tell you I'm kind of intrigued by the South Carolina-Missouri game because I think Missouri's just going to lay it on, South Carolina's just going to lay it on Missouri. Like, South Carolina's defense is so good, and their coach is out like, oh, now this win helps us stay alive for the playoff. So I think South Carolina is probably going to dominate defensively. Georgia, Tennessee, yeah, of course. I mean, Georgia's kind of in a spot now or in a must-win situation. Home game, how do they play after Ole Miss put together a great performance? That's my big takeaway, Ross, from last week. Ole Miss is putting it together, baby. Defensively, they've been good all year. They added really good personnel. I love their pass rush. Offensively, they've still been trying to find their footing, but in the past, we haven't been able to say Ole Miss's defense is one of the best in the nation, and right now they are. And you know Lane's going to get that offense rolling here. I feel like they're getting really close to a breakout. I picked them before the season as my natty pick. I was a little nervous after the early season loss to Kentucky, but I'm still feeling good. I think that the Rebels are getting hot and peaking at the right time here.
House, for those of us championing Lane Kiffin to be the next coach at the University of Minnesota whenever PJ leaves, not great news to see Ole Miss winning like that, but I am happy for him. He is one of my favorite, interesting, curmudgeonly personalities to cheer for. Everything about him should make me despise him, but I enjoy him.
He's so entertaining, and he's really innovative as a coach. He looks outside the box on a lot of things. I was just watching his press conference the other day. That's what I do while I'm working all day. I listen to coach press conferences, and it's just entertaining to hear their approach. And Lane's so funny. Like, he jokes around. He's not a serious guy. He's just having fun with the media and joking around. So, hey, it's fun. It's fun to watch the personalities of different coaches across college football.
Quick book shout out for you, and I'm gonna give me 1 second here. I'm gonna pull it up to make sure that I have it right. Have you read? Well, first off, did you read The Scandal years ago? I think it was Solomon Wilcots and Armin Katayan who wrote the book. It was incredible. First off, read that one if you haven't. There's a new book out called The Price: What It Takes to Win in College Football's Era of Chaos. Armin Katayan is one of the writers, and there's another writer, I can tell you the name here, John Talty. Should I know who that is? Very good book. You should read it, but it basically will educate. Most of the stuff didn't come as a surprise to me, but it will basically educate most fans on what it's like to try and win in big-time college football and college athletics. I would definitely recommend that book, Daniel. There's a lot of fun stuff in it. The Scandal, I would say, is about 10 years old. That one was better, and obviously pre-NIL, but some great, great stories in that book, and I think they're both worth reading if you're a college football fan. The Scandal, or no, System. I keep saying The Scandal. I think it's The System. The System is what that one's called. I don't know how much of it holds up, but you'll get a lot of cool stories from it. But I would definitely recommend, Daniel, if you have not read The Price: What It Takes to Win in College Football's Era of Chaos, or whatever title I just read to you guys. It's good. I did something I don't often do. I like to read books, but I listen to it as an audio book on a free trial because I'm cheap, didn't want to pay for a long-term one or buy the book. But it is it's worth listening to or worth reading, Daniel. So go get it if you haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet. I enjoy reading that type of stuff. It's interesting that now the landscape's about to change even more, Ross. It's going to get even more interesting as we get along in the next 2 years here. It'll be a fun study down the road here.
They'll have a new book out or an updated revision of the book within a year or two. What is at gophersguru.com?
There'll be a breakdown of the last game, talking about some of the things that have to get better out of this bye week. Working on a big feature right now. I think fans will enjoy it. Unique perspective on someone with the program. So check that out this week as well. Lots of stuff on gophersguru.com.
Housey, you're the best. Enjoy bye-week championship season. We will talk next week. We'll do a quick pod again, and we'll preview Penn State and maybe some other stuff that pops up between now and then. Sound good to you?
Appreciate you, homie.
All right, that is Daniel House at Daniel House MN on the X Machine. Gophersguru.com is well worth your cash investment each and every month for. You thought that was good content he gave us on this pod or any other pod that he joins. It's even better when you read it in written or see it in a visual form at gophersguru.com. I am at the Ross Brendel on the X Machine. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening, tell your family and friends, and also rate and review kindly. Thank you so much for listening to Minnesota Sports Chat. I will be back again real soon.
Thanks for listening to Minnesota Sports Chat, presented by Beans Coffee Company. Use the promo code SPORTSCHAT. That's one word, SPORTSCHAT, to save at checkout. Follow Ross on X at the Ross Brendel. Like and subscribe to Minnesota Sports Chat wherever you get your podcasts. Rate and review kindly.